Yeah, Terence Crawford doesn't want anything to do with my son. These are the words of Teofimo Lopez Sr. He believes that Terence Crawford would get destroyed some kind of way by his son, and that Terence Crawford scared of his son. In a brand new interview with Punch Drunk Boxing, this is what Teofimo Sr. had to say. I don't think Crawford wants anything to do with my son. His career is going to be over. That's how he feels. It'll be like coming back from Vietnam with the ish they see in those wars. He'll be taking up the middle of the night. T.O., where are you, T.O.? My son is destroying him. Crawford thinks he's King Kong. Him losing to my son would be a disgrace. He wouldn't be able to sleep at night. It would be a nightmare. End quote. So T.O. Sr. is saying that Bud is afraid of his son, Teofimo Lopez. Now, I gotta vehemently disagree. I don't think that Terrence, like, come on, people. We gotta really do a better job of boxing. Like, and I feel partly to blame because I made boxing look good. I came in the game and made boxing look pretty. So now everybody wants to do it. But there's so many people who are, you know, hitting the record button and getting on mics and it's just saying anything. Like, I feel there's a lot of overused words in the world of boxing. These overused words are like bum, cherry pick, glass jaw, glass chin, and also ducking. There's a lot of instances where someone will hear a fight didn't happen and just assume that this guy ducked. They don't care about, like, if the deal was a rotten deal. They don't care about if what they're saying makes sense. It's just the person ducked because they were afraid. This is a professional fighter that's been fighting at the level he's been fighting his whole life. Crawford just fought Errol Spence, who was considered, you know, that dude. He was a unified 3-belt champion in the welterweight category. And not only did he defeat Errol Spence, he made it look easy. Like, he made it look like different planets on that said night. So you got to give Crawford his propers for that. But now Teofimo Sr. is trying to convince me that despite what Terence Crawford just did to a top welterweight and champion, he's afraid of Teofimo Sr. or Teofimo Jr. Now, I can understand nobody's going to want to lose to a smaller guy. You know, that part actually makes sense, because if you lose to a smaller guy, it's the same thing Canelo is saying. You know, Canelo Alvarez is saying, why should I fight Bud Crawford? I assume all the responsibility. I assume all the risk. He's not really risking anything because he has that safety net. He can fall back on, oh, you know, I wasn't really supposed to be in this division. Oh, I'm not a true super middleweight. I was daring to be great. And for me, and I've kept it consistent my whole career, I don't like those types of fights where it's a built-in excuse that's so clear, so obvious, and it'll be used when things don't go for the smaller person. Jermell Charlo moving up 2 divisions, 14 pounds to fight Canelo. Kell Brook moving up a division or 2 divisions or whatever to fight Triple G. Hell no, guys, it's Max, it's Ponches, guys. So basically, I'm in my fight with Triple G. Realistically, I got my chocolate right hand brownie, and I'm gonna hit him with me things, my chocolate. You know, I don't care about fights like that. Like, if you look at my whole career, which is documented, and that's the beautiful thing about what I've done on YouTube, the beautiful platform, but just being an online personality that talks boxing, it's amazing because the breadcrumbs are all there. I'm like Salt Bae. I sprinkle the breadcrumbs all through the game. You see my DNA all through this boxing game. My style. Some people copy my intro, my outro, my thumbnail design, how I joke, or, you know, impressions, or the persona. So you guys can go look. All the videos are intact. I don't delete nothing. I never delete videos for shame of things that I said and things like that. So all my work has been documented, and that's a beautiful thing about technology. I don't duck or dodge no subject matter. I got thousands of videos since I started, and it's all here for you. So you don't have to take my word for it. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, I've always been against those type of fights, like Kell Brook. You never see me clamoring for Kell Brook Triple G. I wanted to see Kell Brook Errol Spence. They later fought, but Errol got him after he had already lost to Triple G, and that just it really creates the ripple in the pond effect, and I don't like that. Same thing with Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. If they would have done what was right for boxing, Jermell would have stayed at 54, where he was undisputed, and he would have fought Tim Tszyu. Canelo would have fought David Benavidez, and then it wouldn't disrupt the divisions so much. It really, when you have these freak show fights, it really disrupts the division, because people who aren't even of that weight, of that class, they end up moving up to that class. And then when they usually lose, which is usually what happens with this Dare to Be Great stuff, then it's just a waste of time. It's like a huge time waster. Kell Brook, his eyes messed up from Triple G. He got to then move back down where he always should have been, in the 47, 54 pound range. And then now he got to fight Errol Spence coming off of a loss when it didn't need to be that way, you know? So I don't like the Canelo fight with Terence Crawford. Back to Teofimo Sr. I mean, both Teofimos at this point, they're just saying whatever. There's no possibility in my mind that, based on this man that you see on the screen, his very last performance, and we know in boxing, you are only as good as your last performance. Based on that last performance versus Jermaine Ortiz, I don't even think you won. There's a lot of other people who mirror that sentiment. They don't believe Teofimo convincingly beat Jermaine Ortiz. Now, I know some people, oh, the fight was boring, ego, but ego. You still got to score it. I hate listening to boxing commentary online in 2024 because people say the darndest things. They say utterly stupid things like, oh, all he did was ran, talking about Jermaine Ortiz. He's a runner. He's a runner. He's a track star. You still got to score the fight. Like, no matter if you like the style, if you don't like the style, you still have to score who's winning the rounds. Like, you don't look at a fight and say, oh, this fight is not my cup of tea. I don't like the style. I don't like the lateral movement. So I'm just going to put my pencil down and not score any of the rounds. That's not boxing. You have a job if you're going to be taken serious and we're supposed to believe you know what you're talking about. You got to go round by round and score the fight. What happens is boxing fans, many of them, they are some of the most quote unquote passionate and vocal fans of any sport. The problem is they're going off emotion. Emotion, make emotion. They're going off emotion. They don't even take the time to score the fight, but then they'll tell you who won the fight. How do you know? And then even worse, you got some segment of boxing fans, they don't even know what the scoring criteria truly is, like ring generalship, defense, effective aggression. They don't even know what you're supposed to be detailed looking at. And then they have the audacity to score it off pure emotion and fumes. That's not boxing. So I said that to say this, based on Teofimo's last outing, because again, what have you done for me lately? That's boxing. People are going to judge you by your last look. We just seen Teofimo the week of the Super Bowl versus Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz hadn't even fought at the weight class. He was a lightweight who was moving up. Teofimo had a couple fights. He was coming off of one of his best performances of his career versus a good name in Josh Taylor. He won and looked sharp in that particular fight. And you fought a guy who wasn't even of that weight class, and you didn't look sensational in beating him. You couldn't deal with, like, he came out as a southpaw and you couldn't corner him. You couldn't properly cut off the ring. We know for a fact that Terence Crawford is one of the most immaculate southpaws in the game today, and he's ambidextrous. So he's a switch hitter. So if this look is not working, like clockwork, he can switch and then go to southpaw stance or orthodox, depending on which stance he's in. So for Teofimo Sr. to be saying these things now, it's really laughable. It's truly laughable. If Teo had another Josh Taylor type of performance where he looked so pristine and unbeatable and he looked really sharp like he did in the Josh Taylor, maybe. And even then it would still be a stretch because Crawford's that dude, right? But for them to be barking and then you can't even beat there's no way, and this is no diss to Jermaine Ortiz. I really like him. He follows me on social media, etc. And I thought he won. He's not as good a switch hitter, or he's not as like accomplished in his career as Terence Crawford. So you can't even beat the poor man's switch hitter, the great value switch hitter. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but what I'm saying is in boxing, in sports, there's levels. Crawford has shown when it comes to being a great fighter and a switch hitter, he's of the level that is, you know, the higher echelon. So Jermaine Ortiz, he's still young in his career. He's still developing. He's still proving. He's still, you know, recovering from, you know, the Lomachenko loss. Crawford has never lost, nothing like that. So none of this stuff makes sense from the TOs. Talking about Crawford, he's scared. It's going to be like Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. It just sounds too crazy. I don't care what no one says. It sounds too crazy. Bud is not afraid of you. Bud is not afraid of Teo. Bud would not lose to Teo, in my honest, humble opinion. And I don't even think it'd be a fight. I would like to see it just to prove my point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, just like the Canelo Crawford fight, I don't really need to see it. But based on how the Teofimos are disrespecting Bud and you know, think it is sweet, I wouldn't even mind, because Bud don't even have an opponent. Canelo said he ain't fighting him. Tim Tszew's fighting Thurman. Errol Spence fight looks like it may not be next. So as a stay busy fight, I wouldn't even mind it at this point, just because Crawford, his name keeps getting clout chased by the Teofimos. But just mark my words, if the fight happened, which I doubt because of, you know, Crawford, I don't even know if he gets along with Top Rank, his old promoter, stuff like that. Crawford will toy with this boy and it would be bad. It would be, in my opinion, it would be T.O.'s worst loss in his career. They could talk all this Vietnam stuff. Crawford is really not for play. He's just like that necklace. He's prime. He's a prime fighter. And again, I think that was displayed in T.O.'s last fight. You're not even beating a lesser accomplished, lesser switch hitter. You're not beating Crawford. So I don't know why they keep barking up the tree of Terence Crawford, but in the words of Jay-Z, the boy Hove, it's your boy, it's perfect. Don't bark up that tree will fall on you. I don't know why your advices ain't forewarn you. Like, you can't even beat a boxer like Sandor Martin. Look at this. What is this picture? This look like Martin versus Tommy Hearns. Anyway, you can't beat Sandor Martin convincingly. You can't beat Jermaine Ortiz convincingly. You only beat Josh Taylor. He looked fat as heck in his new press conference with Jack Catterall. So I think he be drinking and stuff like that. So I think he was weight drained when you fought him. That's my honest opinion. I definitely think, but you know, nonetheless, that's not T.O.'s problem. He beat him. But you're not beating Crawford, bro. If you're struggling, like literally you look at Teo's last 3 fights, 2 of them, Sandor Martin and Jermaine Ortiz, were controversial and people weren't convinced that you beat him. There's no way you beat Crawford and you can't soundly get past lesser fighters. You know what I mean? And then just banking like, oh, Crawford don't have a chin. I mean, people said that with Errol Spence fight and Crawford didn't lose a round. So me personally, I'm not convinced. As far as I'm concerned, this is the Lopez's, for whatever reason, clout chasing. Here's another thing that Teofimo, he post-fight, he threw in this like wild card and said, oh, I'll fight Crawford at a catchweight. And he said it multiple times. Like he said it when he was walking with his kid after the fight and the media was following him. And then he said it in the ring. Why would Crawford, he just became undisputed for the second time, the first male, shout out to Clarissa Shields for the women's, but Crawford's the first male to achieve that feat and become 2x undisputed as a man in boxing. Why would he meet you at a catchweight? That proves right there that you don't really want it for real, because you're asking for Crawford at a catchweight. Why would he meet you down? He probably can't even make 143 comfortably. He looked like he bulked up for the Errol Spence fight. He looked like he was in great shape. He's not going to meet you. You're trying to weaken him because you know he's 36, 37 or whatever, and a catchweight would be difficult. And you didn't say this before the Jermaine Ortiz fight. You only said it after the fight. So you seen, like, no matter what you say publicly, you seen how you perform with a Jermaine Ortiz, and mentally in your head, you start reconsidering that Crawford fight. So it's really weird what boxers do at times, at least to me, because I truly feel Crawford, credit to him, he hasn't really entertained the TO situation that much. Like he kept it short and brief. He said like FTO, didn't really say nothing about him. Then after the Jermaine Ortiz fight, he said, I thought he lost. Down the rankings you go, or, you know, down the ladder you go, chump, something like that. But he ain't really entertained the whole concept of fighting Teofimo. And for whatever reason, the Lopez's, they keep like bringing his name up after really a mid performance to a bad performance. So that's what I don't understand. And that's, to me, that's a bit weird, because it's just like almost like Shakur Stevenson in a way. When you're off of a performance that's receiving criticism, you're not in the best light to be trash talking. Like, people don't really want to hear that. What belt is that? What even is this? I don't even know what belt this is. I don't know what belt. If y'all know what belt that is, let me know. I don't know what that is. That look like the Tekken belt. But anyway, the Tekken Eddie Gordo belt. When you have a performance like Teo just had, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear like, oh, you know, I'll destroy Crawford. You like, at best, like I said earlier in this video, if you demolish Jermaine Ortiz or something, maybe you can make people believe that that's what should be happening next. But off of that performance, that's not really a gloat trash talk performance. I mean, even Terence Crawford, off his last performance, he's earned the right versus Errol Spence. Y'all said this is going to be my toughest fight, and it wasn't. So Crawford himself has earned the right to, you know, gloat a bit, trash talk a bit, and, you know, talk a little crazy. See, I'm fair. Yeah, talk a little crazy. But off of Teofimo, you look at the last 3 performances, 2 of them were due. One of them was Illmatic. That's a 1 hot fight every 3 fight average, and that's so lame. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't really understand why they keep mentioning Crawford. I don't think that's what they want. I heard like rumors that Teo Sr. got knocked out by Keyshawn Davis, who's one of Crawford's cronies. I don't really know the details of that. So in the comments section, let me know if you guys have heard about that. I haven't even bothered to look it up, because to me, that's just like, you know, rumor, gossip, unless they got a tape of it, you know, it's just like hearsay. unless they tape leak. But if you got the tape or something like that, then holla at me.